Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us here on The Father Show. And I'm your host, Mike Thompson. And I want to thank you for being a part of the show and telling someone else about the show. So when you get finished or call somebody up and just say, hey, you got to check out the show. But before we get to our guest today, I wanted to let you know that if you have not subscribed to our YouTube channel, hit that notification bell and also hit that subscribe bell so that way you will always know when we have a show up and so you won't miss one. Now, if you are a man and you're looking for resources, please go to The Father Show with Mike Thompson.com. Click on resources, and there you will find resources listed for you. And if you can't find what you're looking for in particular, maybe it's a counselor or a therapist or our guest today, just send me an email to thefathershow@gmail.com, and we'll try to find that information for you, because our goal is to make sure you are being the best man that you can be. And women, we don't want you to stop watching. We want you to be a part of this show, because we really want you to understand what we go through, what we're dealing with. And you also need to understand this affects your son and your daughter. So you need to pay attention to the show as well. And we thank you for joining us and being a part of it. So without any further ado, let's really dive into the show. So today we got Darvincia Warren, who is also known as the Money Chic. And she is the owner of DW Tax Prep LLC. And DW Tax Prep is a comprehensive financial service organization which focuses on leading families to financial freedom with education approach. And she is going to tell us today how we can really learn how to better do our finances, and tell us what DW Tax Prep is all about. And I want you to really get this, because my goal today is to help our men really understand finances, because we've got men from all ages. So some of you, especially the younger fellas, don't always know, and it's not taught in school. So we want to bring you that information so that you can once again be the best man that you can be for you and your family, or your family to be. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Darvincia Warren of DW Tax Prep. Hey, Darvincia.
Thank you.
How are you today?
Hi, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm glad that you were willing to come on the show and bring your expertise to our show and to our audience, because you really, if you don't know how to take care of your money, you got something that you really need to learn. And it's something that I try to teach my kids. Know about how to handle your money, how to save your money, how to build generational wealth. And we really want to talk about that, because I got some ideas on that. I know how it works and I know how it's done, but I have some personal things that I don't necessarily agree with in the general way. But before we get to that, tell us, what is DW Tax Prep mission?
So our primary mission is essentially to lead families to financial freedom. We focus in various areas of finance, not just taxes. As a matter of fact, not just taxes is our motto, because we understand the importance of building a solid financial household, and also just understanding the things that we didn't learn in school that if we had could have literally changed the dynamic of generational wealth, and we
Hmm.
would talk about it more in our community. So what we do is we take an educational approach. We provide families with the resources and tools, and then with the education of that those resources and tools allow them to make an informed decision for their families, because ultimately, like they said, you can lead a horse to a well, but you can't make them drink.
Hmm.
And if you teach someone how to fish, or versus if you fish for them and provide them with the fish, what's
Right.
going to provide more of a benefit, right?
Right.
So as opposed to just we can just do the work and get you the results, right? But we want to actually leave consumers understanding in a better position where they know where they're going. We do what we call a financial GPS, right?
Hmm.
Because when you think about it, when you're traveling, whether it's domestic or international, we rely on an itinerary, right?
Right.
Absolutely. So when we think about our financial goals, right, we would need to have that same GPS, that same guide to get us successfully to that financial destination. Understanding that, the times have changed, but the traditions that we were taught, go to school, get good grades, and get a good job, right? That good job that most people get that's not in their field that they went to school for. So now we're stuck paying student loans for a
Hmm.
field that we're not in, and we're living paycheck to paycheck, and we're going to do that for 40 years and retire off of 40% of what we already couldn't make it for 40 years. And that's the traditions that we were told to teach our children.
Hmm.
So it's like, I don't fault my parents, because ultimately we only know what we know. And so that is why it's our primary mission to be the voice, to get that information out there, to teach people the money concepts that we didn't learn in school. And that's primarily what we're passionate about.
Yeah, and it really is very important. And when I used to have a program called the Choice Program, and it was a school program that we taught kids that the choices that you're making today are going to dictate how your life turns out tomorrow.
Yes.
One of the
Yes.
things that we talked about, and I would bring in experts to tell them about, is money. Because
Hmm.
we are not taught about how to balance a checkbook, how to open up a checking account, what is credit, how important is credit. We're not told anything about finances in school other than 1 plus 1 equals 2, and that's it.
Absolutely.
You know, so
Absolutely.
it is very important, and I think kids, parents need to teach their kids at as an early age as possible the importance of money. And one thing
But
that
the understanding though that, again, we only know what we know. And so
right,
if
right.
our parents weren't taught the right things about money, even if they begin to teach them early on, they may not be teaching the right things. So it's
Hmm.
about our now it's about the parents re-educating themselves.
Hmm.
And then, I mean, obviously you can share what you know, but if we've been misinformed, what we don't want to do is continue that cycle. So we want to re-educate ourselves and then share that information with our children, because there are just literally just a few concepts that if we applied could change the dynamic. Just our understanding of the bank, our
Yeah.
understanding of taxes. Like, did you know that ultimately you're not supposed to receive a tax refund? And if we were educated on the way that the tax system works, we would not look forward to one. Because
Yeah.
what is a refund? It's getting something back,
That's
right?
yours already.
It's yours already. So if we understand that this is mine, and I know I have an obligation to pay taxes on my income, but if I'm taught how that works, right, then at the end of the year I will have gotten all that I needed to sustain throughout the year, and when I file my taxes, I'll break even. I won't owe them anything, they won't owe me anything. But because society has taught us to look forward to a tax refund, we have consumers that every year, this is something that they look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
So now, while I'm in the process of trying to educate our community and let them know, shift them into not looking forward to a refund, while they are, I'm going to say, well, you know what? We're going to take this and have a refund challenge. What's the greatest thing you can do with this money? I have a few suggestions for you. What's the biggest reason that most people don't save or say that they can't save? It's primarily because they say, I don't have enough money to save, right?
Right.
That's it. Well, one of the things that I was taught, and when I was taught this, I was broke. I want to be very clear. I'm so transparent because my desire to get into the area of finance was triggered by my being broke, my poverty, my lack of understanding or knowledge of money. And so when I learned this concept, I was broke. I was receiving government assistance. I want to be very clear about this because I am a mother of 2 young children. And I was taught that first and foremost, if you want to start saving, the time is now, because tomorrow's not promised. And if you think that you don't have enough, listen to this scenario. If you have a bill to pay, and then I'll tell you what I was taught. But if you have a bill to pay, and you have just enough money to pay that bill, and you pay that bill, right? Because you're like, I want to be responsible, right? You've got the right idea. But if you take all the money that you have, which is equivalent to that bill, and you pay that bill, now that bill is paid, great job, but you also have no money left.
Right.
Okay? Now, on the flip side, if you took that money and you invested it into, say, a mutual fund with just a minimum of 9% growth yield, right? Because we got to understand, too, that the banks are only giving us 3% interest max on our savings.
Yeah.
So we know that our money's not growing fast. But let's just say we took that and we put it and we saved it we put it into a mutual fund growing at, like I said, 9% minimum. And we allowed it just a short amount of time to grow. When we do go back, take the money out for that bill, we'll be able to pay that bill, but then we will still have some money left because that money was growing. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. So essentially what I was told, if you take, for those that don't think that because I want to make sure that I'm not just giving generic information, I really want to give the audience something that they can leave and take action with. So let's just say you set aside, sacrifice maybe your daily cup of Starbucks coffee or whatever it is. Everyone has something that they throw away about $25 a week on, right? Mm-hmm. So let's just say we sacrifice that $25 a week. That's $100 a month. The easiest way to begin your savings is with just $100 a month. And with that, you can create 3 separate savings accounts. Your first is going to be your emergency fund. Mm-hmm. Why? Because, of course, that's going to be the first thing that comes up in your life is an emergency. Mm-hmm. And 90% of Americans don't have at least $1,000 saved. So if you can get $1,000 saved, you're ahead of 90% of Americans, right?
So how much do you think a person's emergency fund should be?
So here's the thing. Once you never want to continue to add to it, but you want to at least get it to a minimum of 1,000 for you to feel comfortable and know that you're ahead of the game.
Okay.
But always add to your emergency fund, because do we always know the size of the emergency?
Mm-mm.
Exactly. So it's never enough. You always want to continue to contribute to it. You start out at $100. The second fund is your short-term fund. That's for maybe college tuition. It's still a further distance away, mm-hmm. but it's a shorter distance than, say, retirement, which is your traditional IRA, your traditional retirement account. You take that $100 and you take 50 of it and put it into your emergency, and 25 into your Roth and your traditional. Now, mm-hmm. some are going to say, why am I putting more money in my emergency fund? Again, what's going to happen first?
And and if there's a medical emergency, you really have no idea how much that's going to cost you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, you know, it goes in line with one of the other things that we talk about, which is income protection, making sure not only that you have income protection life insurance, but really understanding the importance and knowing the differences. Because wouldn't you agree that having the wrong type of life insurance is just as bad as having none at all?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the wrong kind
Credit,
of
we teach
anything.
people about how the importance of building it, but
Hmm.
not utilizing it, just having it for the credibility, but being able to build that cushion, that savings, so that you can use your credit for your credibility, what it's for, and use your cash to stay out of debt. Because
Hmm.
we're anti-debt. So essentially, Mike, we are like the financial supermarket, like the financial Walmart, right? If you
Okay.
go into a Walmart, are you going to just see Walmart products, or are you going to see a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah, right. Right.
Absolutely. And what we want to provide is that one-stop shop for consumers' financial needs, so that we can help them to put that solid financial household together. So they're not having to go and trust in their finances, something that's very, very important, sacred, it's personal. You don't want to trust that information with multiple different organizations.
True.
So we
Hmm.
provide sort of a safe haven where we can not only provide you the tools and resources, but educate you and give you the opportunity to then make those decisions to lead your family to financial freedom, that generational wealth, the good stuff that we can pass down to our kids.
Right. And you mentioned it, one thing that I think is very important and I really would love for more minority families to understand is not to be in debt. Okay.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
to say that, oh, and I understand it. I've been at the top and all the way to the bottom and work my
Yes.
way back up again. So
Absolutely.
I understand that, and I understand that you want to provide, for your kids, and you want to, them to have nice clothes, the latest tennis shoes, and you want a brand new TV, and you want another car, but I think people need to understand and really realize that you have to live below your means, which means, what you were stating, you're able to put $100 here and a 25 there and 25 there, and then still pay your bills, because there's always that word that goes, pay yourself first,
That's right.
and then you pay
That's
your
right.
bills and you take care of what you have to take care of. And
Mm-hmm.
you need credit, so you got to make sure you pay your bills so that you have
Yes.
good credit. But that
Absolutely.
doesn't mean for you to go in debt with a credit card all the time.
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. Because then what it's for, now counteracting what it's for. Because as I said, the root word credit is just a root word for credibility. So use
Hmm.
it for what it's for, to let people know you're credible, you're trustworthy, and you should do business with me. Don't use it to build more debt for yourselves. I just posted something today on our page, and I'll make sure I give everybody our contact information at the end. But I
Okay.
just posted something on our page today, and it said buying a $65,000 car on a $55,000 salary is not treating yourself. It's treating the bank to locking you into a loan that you're going to end up paying more than it's worth.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's changing the concepts. And then I haven't even talked about the rule of 72. I don't know if anyone on the show is familiar with that, but it's called the banker's rule. And it essentially teaches you that the banks are stealing our money.
Hmm.
It literally teaches you that the
Now
banks are stealing
explain
our
that.
money. So think
Explain
about it.
that.
I'll explain it. Absolutely. So I talked about before how we know that our interest that we get on our bank accounts, it's either 1, 2, or 3% max. There's maybe two or three banks in the entire country that give us that 3%. Those are the generous banks, right? And
Hmm.
what happens is they give us that 3%, and the rule of 72 says if you take your interest rate, right, and divide that into the number 72, it'll show you approximately how many numbers that it's going to take for your money to double. Now, that's a pretty important rule, something we all need to know, right?
Right.
We want to know how fast that's going to take for our money to grow. So let's just say we have this generous bank. Now we know 3% is still not a lot, but we're going to use the generous bank. So if we take 3 and divide that into 72, that's going to give us 24 years, right? So that means for us, every 24 years, our money is doubling. Now, let's just say it's a new mother. She's just had a child and she wants to put aside some money for college, because we're not anti-college. We're just anti going into debt for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we have this mother. She has this generous bank that's giving her 3%, and she put $10,000 away for her child to go to school. Now, at age 18, what's wrong with this picture if our money is growing every 24 years? That means at age 18, when it's time for this child to go to school, that money has not doubled. It hasn't done anything. Now, the bigger question is, how many 24-year periods do we really have? Who wants to wait 24 years for their money to double? But here's an even bigger thing that I felt was, I think, something that everyone needed to know, the piece about how the banks are actually stealing our money. So when we put our money in a bank where we're saving, right? Mike, what do you think? Do you think that it's staying there, or you think it's going somewhere else?
Oh, no, it's not staying there. Yeah.
It's not staying there.
No.
And I don't mean it by how, I might need it and go take it back out. No, I mean, you put it in the bank, it's there. Well, what happens is, and you're absolutely right, you've got the right idea. The banks, they take our money, they give us that 3% interest, right? And then they take our money and they reinvest it into the global economy, right? For, say, a minimum of 12% interest. Right. So let's do the equation again, because the rules don't change, just who they benefit. So let's take that same 12%, divide it into 72, and that gives us 6. So for the banks, our money is doubling every 6 years. Every 6 years. So let's just say the mom, her baby got a scholarship, and she just allowed the money to continue to grow. At age 40, she's ready to retire. She wants to see how much money she's accumulated. The bank's giving her $40,000, right? But they're walking away with $2.5 million because our money was doubling for them every 6 years. Now, if consumers had the ability to learn that concept and get that 12% on their own, don't you think they would be doing that?
Yeah, if they knew. Because you think about it, they're making 12%. So they're, doubling their money in, like you said, in every 6 years. Do you understand also that they're loaning that money out at another higher interest rate? So they're compounding and building on top of that money that they already have. And it's ours.
Yes.
So we should be doing it.
Our money and reinvest it. Exactly. Loan it or reinvest it into different companies in the global economy for, like you said, that higher rate. And it's compounding. And our money's compounding every 24 years. And keep in mind that the rule of 72, this rule doesn't just apply to growth. It applies to debt as well. So when you think about interest rates that we get, now think about this. This is a light bulb moment. So the banks, this is our growth, right? Our growth numbers, 1, 2, and 3% at maximum. Now think about the rate of interest on an auto loan, on a credit card. All of these things are at minimum in the double digits, right or right?
Right, absolutely.
So if we take our interest rate on our debt and divide that into 72, it's doubling faster than the growth of our money. So the budget classes that we're taught, the financial literacy classes that teach us to save at a bank, are still putting us in the same cycle of generational poverty.
Well,
so this is what I meant when I said we've got to re-educate ourselves.
We do.
Because even if you go and take a financial literacy or budgeting class, they're going to send you to the bank.
And there's one other statement that I really have to make, and because I've told our kids that we used to teach in the choice program, I told them that, say, you have to understand, when you go buy, say, Michael Jordan, and I love you, dude. I really have nothing against you, but you are making a person that's rich richer while you go broker, because you're spending $200, $500 on a pair of shoes, and you, like you mentioned, you don't even have an emergency fund. You don't even have money in the savings account, but yet and still you're going to
what are
send.
you going to leave your family behind?
Right.
If something, God forbid, were to happen to you today or tomorrow.
Yeah. But that's a problem in our community. We have to be, the dress to the nine, and we have to show that we have money, when that is really the opposite theory you should have. You need to show that you don't have any money. You don't want people to even know you have any money. So
there was another post that I made today as well. My apologies.
No, go ahead.
You're triggering so many thoughts. Another post that I made today, and it said, go broke buying assets. Let me get it right. Go broke buying assets to become wealthy. Don't go broke buying luxuries to look wealthy.
Absolutely. That's a good one. That is a good one.
Yes.
Because we can't keep sending our money to somebody else that's already have money. I mean, if you really think about it, is that logical? Is that really? It's
not logical at all.
No.
I even stopped watching TV for a couple years to really just tap into, retrain my brain, right? And because think about it, the television is nothing more than them telling us their vision, when we can take time away and go create and build our own. We don't have to follow traditions. We can create them. And that's what I want our people to understand. That's why, I buy black, but I sell to everyone. But I am passionate about communicating to our community, because, not to speak specifically on any particular type of race, but in other communities, you see that frame over the fireplace with someone in the family that you may have not met. They may be generations ago. But why is that? It's because they decided to do something that was going to impact their family generations later. So now that I've been exposed to those tools and resources, I want to make sure that as many of our people have it too, so we can change the dynamic in our community as well. Yeah. And it can be a common topic of discussion.
But you're right.
A common topic of discussion.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. We have to start teaching everybody that really needs to learn. So I really appreciate what you're doing, because I know it's really needed. People need to understand, because they spend because they watch TV. And what is watching TV telling you to do? Spend, spend, spend. You got to have this card. You got to have this. You got to have that. You got to look like this, or you got to look like that. You need to stop and really look at, say, I don't need to do that, because all you're doing is taking money out of my pocket instead of me learning how to put that money to work. Because even a simple thing is, like you mentioned, investing. One thing that I had investors say, that for everybody, invest in things. So if you go to McDonald's all the time, buy stock in McDonald's so you can get your money back. Right. You don't just, I'm gonna go spend. I got $100, so I'm gonna spend $150. You have to say, you know what? I think I'm gonna spend $50 and put $25 in McDonald's, and put the other $25 and work something else. Like you said, your emergency fund.
So now I'm benefiting from it. Right. I'm not just benefiting that organization.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And you really have to think about that, and you have to learn that. But you can't worry about being like the Joneses. You got to stop. Right. Get that thought out of your head. I don't care what my neighbor has or doesn't have. I don't care what my cousin has or doesn't have. All I care about is me. What I got.
That's right.
That's it. And me and my wife, What do we have? What do we need? That's what I care about. And for you, you have kids. My kids are grown, thank God. But
But it's still about, creating and leaving a legacy.
right,
So
right.
it's important, no matter how big or small your family is, how old or young your children are.
No,
We all want to leave a legacy behind, even if you're not a parent, because
yeah.
everyone's family looks different. But even if I wasn't a mother, I would still want to make a difference for my family. I would still want to know that later on someone's going to be able to write the check because I paved the way to make that difference.
Well, let me ask you something. Do you find that women are more apt to do this than men or young boys?
Absolutely not. I have business partners, colleagues, licensed colleagues in this industry. As a matter of fact, the financial industry is one of the highest paid and long-standing industries in the country. Why? Because it provides it fulfills the greatest need. So when you think about success and wanting to find where you can find success, provide a solution to a large need, be an impact. Money is nothing more than a certificate of service. So when you're providing a service to people, you're going to be blessed in abundance and with money. And so all it takes is a desire. Someone that is passionate about other people, that's who this is for. It doesn't have a gender.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, will you find that I know to start saving for retirement, how old would you say that a person should be to start saving for retirement?
I think a person should start saving for retirement yesterday. But before I answered, that was the preliminary to my answer. But before I answer your question, I'll throw one back at you. How old are most people when they begin to think about retirement, saving for retirement?
Probably like 40 and 50 and 60 when it's too late.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's too late. But see, this is one reason I'm asking the question, because I really want young people to start thinking now about retirement. I've sent all 6 of my kids books. Matter of fact, I sent them the same book about building their money because, like you mentioned earlier, you can lead them to water, but you can't make them drink. I'm going to give you all the information. Now, what you do with it is left up to you.
Yes.
But at the end of it all, part of my legacy is you can't say I didn't tell you, because I'm giving you the information. And what you do now, because I can speak about me. My mother tried to tell me
about... So
how
old is your youngest?
Youngest is 23. And our oldest is 34.
So let's say this is your youngest and it's 2 years from now. Okay. So let's say at 25, right? 25 years old, you start putting away $200 a month. That's a pair of sneakers. That's, again, cup of coffee, whatever. And it's growing, again, at 9% interest. And you save that, and we're talking just savings alone. And you save that for 40 years, which is the typical time before someone's considering retirement, right? You will have, in just savings with compounding, at least $1.5 million. You will be a millionaire in savings alone if you start saving at 25 years old, just $200 a month.
And that's what I want people to understand. The earlier, the better. I mean, because you figure most kids actually start working at 16, 17. Why aren't you starting to put money away from retirement?
I'm going to give you an even bigger way to look at it. So let's just say we wait 1 year, just 1 year, 26. When you think about compounding, it's not adding. So compounding works a lot faster. So if you wait just 1 year, you lose out on $76,000 you could have had saved. But if you wait until most people do, age 40 or 50, you're losing out on hundreds of thousands of dollars that you could have saved just by putting $200 away a month.
Yeah.
So who are we really hurting if we wait?
Yeah. Yeah, well, definitely you're hurting yourself. And even if you
Ourselves.
can't
Yeah.
afford the 200, put something
Exactly.
something away.
Something.
You know,
Our company that we partner with for investments is the only company in the country where you can actually start an investment for just $25 a month.
hmm
So it doesn't matter. The only thing it takes is a desire and that action step.
yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
Because once it starts growing, it won't stop. It's not
yeah.
going to stop growing. It's going to, even if you never added to it,
And you
that principle is going to continue to grow.
and you really can't talk and say, well, I didn't have a good enough job to save money, because there was a story, and I really wish I remembered his name, but there was a man that worked as a janitor in a school, and he retired a millionaire,
Yes.
and he's a
I tell
janitor
everyone,
at the
use
school.
your job as your investor, or you will not have enough money to save.
Yeah,
You won't. Jobs are nothing more than an investor to lead you to your goals and dreams. Because as long as you're there, you're working towards fulfilling someone else's goals and
right.
dreams. So as long as you are there, look at it from a different perspective. Look at them as your investor, and you will begin to move differently. Your bank account checking, because checking is for your money that you're spending actively. No savings. Eliminate the savings. We going hashtag no savings, right?
hmm
Just invest, even if it's a mutual fund. But you know, guys, this is it. These are the tools to lead our families to financial freedom. That
Yeah.
is it.
And really, financial freedom, you really do not understand how good that feels. If when
Yes.
you can get yourself to the point where you don't owe anything to anybody, you
Yes.
have money still coming in, whether it's just a regular
Yes.
paycheck, but
Mm-hmm.
you can do whatever you want to do. And you still might
Yes.
have to save to take a trip, for
Mm-hmm.
vacation. You still can save for that. But the fact that you're not paying the entrance, the one thing that I'm sure some people can really think about, when you buy a house and they say, oh, that house is 200,000 or $300,000. Then when you go sign the paperwork and they tell you just how much money you're going to make the house payment, maybe that's 1,500 or 2,000 a month, but they're going to tell
Mm-hmm.
you just how much you're going to spend extra for that
Yes.
$300,000 house if you take the full 15 or 30-year loan. And
Mm-hmm.
it is mind boggling. It's something that you would
Yes.
look up and say, don't even show me that. I don't want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Or, and I know we could talk about it, but there's ways to, cut that short.
Yes.
But
Mm-hmm.
it is something that it should wake you up, that you be like, well, wait a minute, hell, I'm spending over 300,000 in
Mm-hmm.
interest alone on this house,
Alone. Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
loan. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, that's crazy.
Yes.
That's really
And it's like,
crazy.
well, if we get these fundamentals early on in school, I mean, there's so many things that were taught in school that we never use. Like, I don't know about you. I mean, we got trigonometry and all these things, but
hmm
I've never used a letter in math. Have you?
no. Eh,
I'm just saying. And
no.
so
And
I'm not
I,
saying that it should be removed from the curriculum, but
no.
what I'm saying is that we use money every single day.
Yeah. I think it
These
should be.
financial concepts are things we need in the curriculum.
Yeah, I think the curriculum should really be, yes, you want to know what's 1 + 1 and 2 + 2, but I think it's really, you should be teaching these kids about finances and how finances work more than a problem that is good if you're going to be an engineer or a surgeon or a
Exactly.
doctor.
That's when those classes should come into
That's
place.
absolutely.
Exactly.
That's
Because think
absolutely.
about it. when high school graduates go off to college, they immediately start beginning to get offers for credit cards. Immediately. They have no understanding about credit, how it works. They just know someone's giving me some money that I can go spend on this because I don't have it yet. And what do? They max them out. So we're creating debt before we even graduate from college.
And you have to understand this world, even though they try to tell you you should have some money in your savings, and even our government is telling us we need this, we need that, have your savings, but they are putting you in debt all the time. So you buy a pair of sneakers for $250 on a credit card, that's 22% interest. Really?
Yes. Exactly. Precisely. And it's compounding.
And it's compounding because if you don't pay it off at the end of the month, that 22%, you just pay almost $300 for that pair of tennis shoes. And it just keeps getting worse as long as you hold that balance with those shoes. But Darvincia, I know we could talk about this because this is something that I can tell you're passionate about. And like I said, I have 6 kids and 3 grandkids, and I'm trying to teach the parents of those grandkids to teach my grandkids about money and generational wealth. Dang, my tongue is tied. We really must have gone over the time. But I really want my kids to understand about generational wealth. I want my grandkids to understand it and really just about money. Don't wait on me or your parents to give you money. Earn the money and know what to do with the money you have earned. And whether that is even Christmas gifts or birthday money that you receive, know what to do with that money and know how to handle it. So, Darvincia, I want you to tell this audience how they can get in touch with you and all the services that you provide so that they can learn just what to do with their money and how to make it work for them.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, Mike. So yes, everyone, you can find us on all social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. You can find us everywhere at DW Tax Prep. You can find me on all the same social media platforms as Darvincia or Darvincia Warren. And guys, we are all things money, not just taxes. So anywhere from taxes, credit, insurance, investments, auto and home, you name it, we have the services or the resources to connect you. So guys, let's get that financial house in order. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And as you can tell, this is a very passionate subject to me because I have taught underprivileged kids about money and have also taught them about, life. And like I said, we had the choice program with my good friend, Beatrice Bruno, who is called the Drill Sergeant of Life. And I'm going to tell you, she's a drill sergeant of life. Oh, she's wonderful.
That's like she means business.
She does. And when she talks to you, you're going to know she means business and that she's very passionate about what she's telling you as well. So I love what you do, and I thank you for what you do. And we got to come back on because I really want you to help people understand about credit and what is credit, how to improve your credit, and really what level of credit should you have that's going to benefit you. Because men, we have to really get this. And women, you have to understand, because if you are married, this is a partnership. So you can't have one person saying, hey, let's save money, and the other person say, well, I got to be like the Joneses, so I need to go spend some money. That's not going to work, So we got to get them together on the same page, and then get your kids on the same page so they can know. All right.
Well, I would love to come back and talk more about credit. I can talk more to the people. I also am the author of The Secret to Fixing Your Own Credit. You can
Okay.
find that on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm actually gifting you a copy as well, Mike.
Oh,
So that's
thank
available
you.
for
Thank
you.
you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And if for anyone that is interested in getting that book, just send me a message on Instagram or Facebook, and I'll give you guys a discount code. Just it'll be
Okay.
your Mike Thompson, the Father Show discount code. But I think it's definitely a great read. It's the starting point to understanding how to start working on building your own credit without going broke. That's the
Yeah.
ultimate goal.
And you got to start somewhere. You know, no matter how
Yes,
old you are, you have to start
that's right.
somewhere. Yeah. All right.
Yes.
Well, Darvincia, thank you so much for being on the show. And I really have enjoyed this conversation. And I really look forward to having you back on the show again soon.
Thank you.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. And if you can't tell that I'm passionate about you learning how to handle your money, and I'm not the perfect person, I'm not the greatest at it, but I'm trying to learn all the time. That goes along with what we are trying to get you to do here on the Father Show. We want you to be the best version of you that you can be, and knowing how to handle your money, knowing how to take care of your family and start building generational wealth is something that's very important. And you don't want to go out and your kids to say, well, my dad never bought me this and my dad never bought me that, but he had these Jordans and he had these Gucci bags and he had this and that and the other. Know how to teach your kids to be the best, because number one thing you have to remember, you are their number one example of what they should be and how they should be. And it's not just talking about the boys, because your daughter is watching you just as well. And she is going to know what she should be looking for in a man. So if you can't teach her, who you think is going to teach her? All right. So if you have not subscribed to our channel, please hit that notification bell and hit that subscription button. So that way you can always know when we have people on the show like Darvincia Warren from DW Tax Prep, and you won't miss a show and you will get the information that you need. And if you ever need more information, please let us know. Just drop me a line at thefathershow@gmail.com. All right. So I want to thank you again for joining us here this week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. So until then, God bless you all, and y'all have a wonderful, wonderful day.